Hello everybody. In this video, I will preview some featured slides from four major sections. Those are systems, circuit design aspects, architectures, and advanced PLLs. First of all, it is important for PLL designers to understand a clock behavior based on the frequency domain analysis. Breaking down the total zero into random zero and the deterministic zero based on the frequency domain analysis allows us to have a good zero budget planning in advance, which will greatly reduce the PLL design efforts. In addition, it is also important to understand the different design aspects for clock generation and frequency generations. In the clock generation, we value phase margin, that is, how much timing margin is allowed for digital circuits. On the other hand, in frequency synthesizer or frequency generator, spectral purity is important. That is, we value also out-of-band phase noise to meet the spectrum mask, and also not to interfere with other channels. And then those key design system parameters will be discussed. And after learning some basics of the spur and phase noise analysis, you can answer these four questions. So these are case studies. First one, why less than minus 40 dB per is good enough for most clock generation systems. Second, what happens if single sideband spectrum like this will go through the limiter with attenuation of 6 dB, then what would be the result in the spectrum after the limiter? And then from this single phase noise plot, can we tell whether we need to increase or decrease the PLL bandwidth for better optimum phase noise performance? And then from a single screenshot of the spectrum, can we calculate RMS zero in picosecond? So those will be discussed during the course. And then in the circuit part, we begin with phase detectors. And even though PFD and charge pump are the most popular phase detectors, still we need to cover different types of PDs to further improve the PLL performance. Especially for low supply voltage operation, there are some pros and cons of different types of the phase detectors. And then I'll also introduce some time interleaving flip-flop PD that can achieve low reference power and high good linearity under low supply voltage. And then CML divider, I believe that this, based on my experience, this is one of the building blocks that has some huge gap between the product level design and then research level design. Simply speaking, the power value number claimed in the paper may not match well with the real product level design. The reason is that most papers do not value much about the input sensitivity. But when you design a product, input sensitivity would be very critical. Just simply having a large amplitude may not help much. You must have a very steep rising and falling time to improve the sensitivity. So for the given power budget, how to improve the input sensitivity? The only way is to increase the W ratio. But once you increase the W ratio of the differential pair, this one will significantly increase the loading capacitance of the previous stage. As a result, you must increase the current again to reduce this resistance value. So once you increase the current, then the W ratio still needs to be further increased to meet the same input sensitivity. So as you see here, this one will propagate. And also, when you design a CML divider, cascaded dividers, how to set the right voltage swing, because the voltage swing also set the commode voltage of the following stage. And then those will be all considered together. So in conclusion, you must design a CML divider chain as a whole. And then also do not design individual divider, even in the layout, individually, like a digital logic. This is the very poor layout done by old previous student. And after that, we follow nearly the same design, we improved layout, and then whole area which has been significantly reduced, and then as a result, critical path has been well aligned so that power can be also reduced a lot. And then in the VCO, we first analyze and learn the basics of the conventional CMOS LC VCOs. And of course, in this VCO course, we'll cover LC VCO, ring VCO, and relaxation VCO. And then in the LC VCO, we first begin with the conventional LC VCO. And also I'll show the single input dual pass LC VCO that can achieve the constant VCO gain over a wide range of temperature variation. And then class C, how class C is developed, because of one of the reasons is that once this M1, M2 pair enters the triode region, then this one become more resistance, then this one will degrade the Q, collective effect of the LC tank. So how to guarantee that M1, M2 operate always in saturation mode? So this is the basic idea of the class C. And class D, as you know, the flicker noise, tail current, also bias current contribute to phase noise a lot. So we can remove these tail currents. And then also this is good for the low supply voltage design. And class F is to, like the power amplifier, we want to use the boost the third order harmonic factors so that we can have a steep rising falling time to improve the figure merit as well as the power efficiency. And then fractional and PLL we'll study a lot, and then from the basics to the advanced architectures. And then after learning the fractional PLL, you may tell, this is very interesting question. These are all similar division ratio. You can actually have the same fractional and division ratio, but what's the impact of the quantitation noise of the delta sigma modulator? And also you will learn why delta sigma quantitation noise will not be multiplied by the division ratio n, even though this one operates at reference clock period. Nonetheless, these three architectures will give different performance at the PLL output. With this one is very interesting question, and they will discuss during the course. And digital PLL also will cover several architectures. But first, I want to emphasize that once you have a solid knowledge of the type 2 second order charge pump PLL, it would not be very difficult to understand the digital PLL. So digital PLL is nothing new, as long as the PLL operates with time continuous condition, meaning that the bandwidth of the PLL is at least 1 decade lower than the sampling clock, reference clock. Then we can analyze it with the time domain model. But in this case, you will see that the bandwidth will depend proportional to the division ratio n, which is a little bit confusing. So I prefer using the phase domain model, which is more straightforward to the circuit designer. And also, I'll show that based on the knowledge of the charge pump PLL, we can actually design the same value, we get the same alpha and beta values either by using either model. So this is the one part. And then for the delta sigma bang bang deep PLL, I want to address that even though bang bang deep PLL is very promising, still when we operate the bang bang deep PLL with the fractional M mode, the huge degradation of the embed noise will occur. That's why we must use the high resolution DTC. But before applying the high resolution DTC, we must know what are the different design aspects between linear DPLL and then bang bang DPLL. So this is one good example. With 1-point modulation and 2-point modulation, if the data rate, modulation data rate is much lower than the PLL bandwidth, in the linear PLL, 1-point modulation and 2-point modulation do not make any difference. But in the bang bang DPLL, you will see a clear difference, and then I'll explain why. Finally, hybrid PLL become very promising. Why? Because this one can provide linear phase detection on the low supply voltage. So TDC will have a severe degradation of the time resolution when supply voltage become lower. But at the same time, we are still using the digital integral path, so we don't have to worry about the leakage current. So by employing the voltage mode PD, we can achieve ultra low voltage PLL with a linear phase reduction, and we have a very good fractional performance and noise performance. This will be discussed. So these are all about it for the preview, and I'll be looking forward to meeting you. Thank you. Goodbye.